Well, for me, if Kane Williamson doesn't stand up and have a big score, we could be in for a 3-day test match.
You're watching Outside Edge with myself, John Norman, Steve Harmison alongside me, looking back at all the action which took place on talkSPORT 2 and the first day of the first test between India and New Zealand.
Gives us some flight and Shreyas Iyer just bangs it over deep mid-wicket.
Well, hello and welcome to Outside Edge. We're back. India are playing cricket in India, which means Outside Edge team are back to review all of the action which has been taking place live and exclusive on talkSPORT 2. I'm John Norman. Alongside me as ever, my main man, Steve Harmison, looking back at the day. And it was a day that Shreyas Iyer will never forget. On debut, he started it a little bit nervy, Harmy, but he finished it 75 not out, and he took India away from a really dodgy position, 145 for 4 when he walked to the crease. And alongside Ravindra, Jadeja really turned the game and the day on its head. India's day, and a lot of that is thanks to the debutant Shreyas Iyer.
Absolutely. He got his cap, an emotional morning, got his cap off Sunil Gavaskar, one of the all-time greats of the game, commentating on the game. And you could see how much it meant to him. He kissed the badge, put it on his head, got backslapped off all his teammates. And when he came out to bat, yes, India were in a little bit of predicament, but I thought for the first 10 balls, there was a little bit of nervousness, pushing out the ball when he probably on any other given day not done that. And then he got a ball off Ijaz Patel, who dropped it short, slapped it through mid-wicket for 4, and that was him off and running. And he came down the wicket the next over, hit him over the head for 6. And, you could see that the IPL, Shreyas Iyer, was coming out. And we've got to remember as well, he's a young man, ran about 50 first-class matches, but he's captain of an IPL franchise, which tells you a lot about, what people in India think about this young man. And from a little bit of a nervous start, he's put India in a fantastic position with 75 not out at the close of play.
Yeah, his first scoring shot was a horribly miscued, lofted cover drive. He didn't get anywhere near the pitch of the ball. A leading edge looped over mid-off for a couple. His last scoring shot of the day, a beautifully hit 6 into the crowd at deep mid-wicket, in control all the way. In between that, there was a couple of miscued pulls, a couple of full shots. But what really impressed me about his game today was at no point did he, apart from that first 20 minutes or so, he looked happy just to kick the ball away when it was being bowled into the rough outside leg stump. He was happy to allow the bowler, to have his moment, especially when Jamieson was bowling. But he also was happy to step out of the crease, step away from the wicket, and trust his eye and his technique and his wrists and his hands. And I thought it bodes well for Indian cricket.
It does, yeah. And we can be critical of the way the spin bowling department of New Zealand bowled. They didn't look as though they were at the races at all, inconsistent with lines and lengths. And they let Shreyas Iyer and Ravi Jadeja really milk them, hit the boundary when they feel as though they needed to. The ball was turning a little bit. But I think India have found a little gem there when coming into that middle order, and one that will put pressure on the Indian captain that's playing this game, Ajinkya Rahane, as well as Pujara, because there has been question marks in the English summer about Rahane and Pujara, and Virat Kohli's got to walk straight back into this team for the second test match at the Wankhede Stadium in Mumbai. And at this minute in time, I don't think he's walking in for Shreyas Iyer. And I think that is a message to Rahane, who is actually captain now, or Pujara, that the potential needs some runs in the second innings to save their place.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And that's a point that we're going to look at in a little bit more detail in India, the Inquest. So we know that India came in without a couple of big names. I mean, they came in without about 5 or 6 big names, and a lot of them in the batting lineup. No Rohit Sharma, no Virat Kohli, no Rishabh Pant for that matter, who's been batting in the top 6. KL Rahul was injured late in the game. He was going to start. So it meant a couple of chances actually for Agarwal and also Shubman Gill. Now, Gill should have been given out on 6, but Patel and New Zealand didn't review. He went on to score 50 before being one of 3 victims to Kyle Jamieson. But, in terms of keeping the big guns out, you say that Iyer's got to play, and you're not going to drop him after a test when he possibly goes on to score 100. But how did you make out, or how did you assess how the likes of Gill, Agarwal, and also Pujara and Rahane went today?
They looked as though what they are. They looked as though quite nervous and understanding that they're playing for their international futures. Well, 2 of them are anyway, and that's in Pujara and Rahane. I think if Gill and Agarwal get left out, there's room and time in their careers for them to come back. But if Pujara or Rahane was the one to make way for the next Test match in Mumbai for Kohli, then you'll think, well, at the age they're at, where their careers are at from a cap point of view, then there might not be a route back into the Test team. So, that's what I was saying earlier. You've got to really grab the bull by the horns in the next Test match and in the next innings and go score some runs. I thought Agarwal looked relatively nervous. I thought Jamieson bowled very, very well. Shubman Gill shaped up very, very well against the spin bowlers. And, he had a plan. He wanted to let the ball come right to him, play off the back foot against the left arm spinner, and hit him through the sort of offside, late cut shots against Patel. And then he came down the wicket to Somerville. He wanted to get at Somerville, who was less experienced. He's not in age, but in cap in times playing for New Zealand. So showed you that he did have a plan. He got to 50. And then I thought he got what did he get? He got a ball off Jamieson, another good ball off Jamieson, who bowled very, very well. So all in all, I think there'll be some nervous twitches in that top 4 for going into the second innings. I think definitely Virat Kohli comes back for one of the older 2 in the next Test match. If KL Rahul's not fit, then Agarwal and Gill might get another go. But when you see the embarrassment of riches that aren't playing in the batting department, there's going to be some needy runs in the second innings from the 2 older brigade to sort of carry on their international careers. And
a quick word for Jadeja, because he played an important innings today.
He batted brilliantly. I've said for a while now, I think this kid is probably one of the best situation players going. A bit like a Joss Butler in one-day cricket. He understands what the situation is. He understands whether to sit in if there's balls flying about a bit and balls doing a bit. And he also knows when to counteract and come back at the opposition when he feels as though he's on the ascendancy and he goes. And I thought he did that brilliantly. And I thought he kept young Shreyas Iyer in check a little bit. And I think all in all, it's been a positive partnership for India, largely down to the experience of Jadeja, understanding at, 145 for four, that the 2 of them just had to sit in a little bit and then they can accelerate through the last session, which I thought they did brilliantly well. And 50 not out, sitting there, nice and easy, nice and tidy, get over the second new ball tomorrow. And the two guys will believe there'll be a 3-figure score there for them.
Okay, so everything pretty much went as expected, but there were a few surprises along the way today. So much of the chat ahead of the first Test match was about spin. This was a pitch where spin bowler had taken 9 wickets in a match before, not once but twice. But today, Harmy, all 4 wickets went the way of pace. And Kyle Jamieson once again proved the doubters wrong. There were some who said that his pace would never see him reap the successes that we've seen in New Zealand and in England on the subcontinent. But today we showed it's not just about pace, is it? It's about height, about bounce, about length, about swing in and out. This guy is racing to 50 wickets and he is odds on to break the record for the fastest Kiwi to ever reach 50 wickets, probably inside 9 tests. His impressive introduction to Test cricket continues.
Well, I think he needs 2 to get there. So to get to 50 wickets, and if New Zealand have any stand of having a foothold in this game, he'll need them by lunchtime tomorrow. And he's bowled beautifully in this game. Yes, all 4 wickets from the seamers. Hindsight's a wonderful thing. New Zealand will probably be thinking the Somerville, Wagner. Do we play 3? Do we play 2? So a 1.5 and a 1 and a part-time spinner. That might come back to bite them if Southey doesn't shape up tomorrow morning with his groin injury. But I thought the length that Jamieson bowls is just beautiful. He gets the ball in and around off stump, and excuse me, he makes the batsman play. He gets the batsman coming forward, and for a batsman to come forward to Kyle Jamieson, you'd think it's got to be ridiculously full, and it's going to be slow and it's going to be floating. But he's not. He has this ability to hit the length, a good top of the stump length with something on it and get the ball to move. He was helped this morning by what you'd say a thick smog in the air over Kanpur. There was heavy air conditions, which I think did help the ball move around. And New Zealand will be desperate for that tomorrow morning. But you've still got to put the ball in the right area. And he swung the new ball very, very nicely, both in and away and in. And he was largely helped by Tim Southey using his experience at the other end, who put the ball in a good area, created pressure from both ends. And they both got, duly rewarded. I thought the ball that Southey got Pujara with was a great bit of bowling, great set of bowling, 2 balls in towards off stump, and then the one that just went away, which Pujara felt as he would have to play. And when he gets back in the changing rooms and sees where it is, he'll think, I could have left that. But actually the 2 balls before made him play it, and that skill of the bowler. And I think Jamieson did exactly the same to get Rahane out. When he had bowled tight, then he just pushed him a little bit wider, and Rahane not scored for a while, gone for the big shot, and not executed it properly and got bowled. So seamers were brilliant. Spin bowlers probably need to have a little bit of a look at themselves. I know they haven't played for a while, but need to have a look at themselves tonight and come back better tomorrow, because that was really disappointing from a New Zealand point of view.
Okay, so 258 for 4 at stumps on day 1 with 2 set batsmen, both past 50, walking out to bat on day 2. Let's just have a little look at what Harmy has to think about what's going to take place, not just on day 2, but for the remainder of the test. Okay, Harmy, your predictions are usually pretty spot on. Do India already have too many runs? Will New Zealand have to follow on? Can New Zealand battle their way back into the match? What's going to take place over the next couple of days in Kanpur?
Well, the old cliche of the next hour, but I think it's the next sort of 20 minutes of this test match. And I think Jameson's got to make an early breakthrough. Southey's got to bowl at the other end and hopefully get through 5 or 6 overs. Because if not, then it comes down to the spinners. And if it does come down to the spinners, they look as though they're a little bit out of their depth when it comes to this surface, against this batting unit. I can only see India getting 350 plus. And if India get 350 plus, this game's not going long into day 4. If it goes into day 4 itself, it's going to spin sharper as the game goes on. It's going to be a little bit more up and down. It's going to break up. We've seen a little bit of reverse swing for New Zealand today, so I can only imagine that happening in the as the game goes on. So with all that in the melting pot, Ashwin, Jadeja, Axar Patel against Kane Williamson, really, and if a bit like the Joe Root in India last winter when England were out there and talkSPORT were commentating on it. If Joe Root doesn't stand up, then England crumble. Well, for me, if Kane Williamson doesn't stand up and have a big score, we could be in for a 3-day test match. And if they get 350 and beyond, I can only see there being a 3-day test match where India might only bat once.
Well, we shall see. Still plenty of cricket to be played. But Harmy's predictions are usually scarily accurate. So look, we'll be back at the end of the test match, whether it's day 3, day 4 or day 5 here on Outside Edge, and then again for the second test match as the action moves to Eden Gardens. What a test match that will be, especially with the return of Virat Kohli. But for now, thanks for watching Outside Edge.